Because she got a great ass. And you got your head all the way up it.
Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome back to From the Collection, a little video series I do where I take movies off of my shelf and talk about them. Today we've got a special one because we are talking about Michael Mann's classic crime thriller action film, Heat. A film that, in all honesty, right now, I might call it my favorite film of all time for reasons that I will get into in just a minute. But first of all, let's just have a look at this release. This is the 4K Blu-ray, but I have the limited edition steelbook here as it was released in Australia. Now, I've said a few times over the years that I'm not really a steelbook guy. I don't buy them anymore, but there was a period earlier on when I was just getting into collecting where, you know, steelbooks just, I don't know, they were shiny, they looked cool, so I wanted them. And I specifically remember I went on a buying frenzy at a certain point, and I got this and the Top Gun Maverick steelbook together, which, you know, in retrospect, I'm kind of glad I did, because this and that Maverick steelbook are, you know, can't really get them anymore. They're collector's items, which, you know, these are intended to be. And, you know, considering how much I love this film, I'm actually pretty happy that I did get it in the steelbook. So, quickly, just talk about the packaging of this. Obviously, you got your cardboard slipcover here, just a little bit of info on the front, all the info on the back, standard stuff. Then you slide it off, and you get, whoa. Sorry, the camera just freaked out then. I thought I died and went to heaven. Yeah, anyway, back to what I was saying. Beautiful artwork on the front here. Some nice frames from the film. It's very much, you know, they've just chucked some scenes in Photoshop and done it up, but I think they've done a pretty good job here. But the back is where this camera does not like the setting I've got going on here. Jesus Christ. The back is the real star of this for me. I mean, you know, a beautiful scene from the film where Pacino gets called out by De Niro, gets their ass. It's awesome. Opening it up real quick, look inside here. We've got 3 discs in this edition, the 4K disc, the film on Blu-ray, and the special features disc. And of course there is some artwork on here. If I can quickly take some of these off. You have this very nice landscape of LA, I think the film's set in, maybe Miami. I can't quite remember now that I think about it. I'm pretty sure that this dude here is Michael Mann. It's not De Niro, it's not Pacino. I'm pretty sure that's Michael Mann, the director, which, you know, it's a nice little touch for the inside here. And yes, that is pretty much it in terms of the packaging. It's definitely one of the nicest steelbooks I own, and like I said, I'm actually pretty glad that I bought it during that little frenzy. But yeah, that's the packaging. Now, to get into the real meat of this video, Heat. I obviously was not around when this film came out. I watched this film decades after its initial release. I watched it for the first time a few years ago on the original Blu-ray, actually. And, you know, it's a 3-hour film, pretty much. It's not the... Well, I'd be lying if I said it's not an easy watch. I'd have no problem sitting down and watching this movie. But I mean... Sorry, the camera's just freaking out for this video. I don't know why. I'm gonna have to hold this thing still. But, yeah, like I was saying, Heat, despite being a 3-hour film, it's one of the easiest watches I've ever had in my life. That 3 hours felt like nothing. It was like watching something like Avengers Endgame. It's 3 hours, sure, but you don't feel it. It's just that compelling and so well done. That being said, I believe Heat is a far better film than Endgame can ever be. I mean, the talent here is just insane. You have Pacino, De Niro, Val Kilmer, Tom Sizemore, that William Fichtner guy that, you know, you recognize in movies, but he's not like a top tier star. He's like a B-list character actor sort of dude. Done a lot of good stuff, but, you know, he's not like a movie star. Even like fucking Henry Rollins, the guy from Black Flag, is in this movie, which I've always found kind of insane. It's not something I picked up on until I actually rewatched it on the 4K disc. Oh, and shit, man, like a young Natalie Portman as well. Like, I might... fucking... There's... What's his name? John Voight as well. And even after listing all of those actors, I'm probably still forgetting some people, but that's just scratching the surface of a talent in this movie. It's insane. And that's just in front of the camera. Behind the camera, you have Michael Mann, arguably at the peak of his career. I do not think he has done anything like Heat since this film. I mean, part of the reason that spurred me to make this video was that I watched Miami Vice on the weekend, and, you know, it was a Michael Mann film fronted by Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx. I thought it was going to be a recipe for, you know, a Heat level sort of film. That's what I was expecting. It's Michael Mann dipping his toes back into, you know, not suburban crime, but, you know, a city crime thriller. I did not get that with Miami Vice. It was a film that mostly revolved around a very uninteresting romance. And the action wasn't even that interesting. I will stand by it. There is one great scene in that film, which is the infiltration they have at the trailer park when they have to rescue someone. That scene, awesome. If that was the whole movie, it'd be great. But anyway, that's enough about Miami Vice. Heat. I mean, honestly, what can be said about this film that hasn't already been said? But, you know, I'll continue to pile on the praise anyway. First of all, just to get out of the way, the shootout is perfect. I don't know if there's... there have been action scenes that have definitely stood up to that one. But, I mean, in terms of just production, practical effects, editing, sound, the shootout in Heat is unmatched. I mean, my favorite fact about that scene is that, you know, the gunshots and the sound in that entire sequence sound just visceral and real, and they are loud in a way that you don't get in any other film. And the reason for that is because they didn't not ADR, it's the wrong word. They didn't post-produce that sound. That is the raw audio that they captured on the day of, you know, the blanks going off and firing and ricocheting through the buildings and the streets. It's just this enormous sound that you just feel even when you're watching the movie. It definitely helps. All the actors did extensive gun training and they look skilled. There's that fun fact that that clip of Val Kilmer reloading his rifle, that tactical reload he does in the middle of that fight, and how they actually use that and instructions for police and army vets, people saying stuff like, if you can't reload this gun as quickly as this Hollywood actor, then get out. I mean, it's crazy. The action is, of course, the highlight of this film, even beyond that gunfight. I mean, Jesus, the final showdown between Pacino and De Niro. You have that first heist at the start with I believe they use a garbage truck for that one at the start of the movie. I mean, obviously, what a way to kick off a film. It's easy for me to lose my track of thought when thinking about this film because there's so many great moments that just flew through my head. But yeah, the action's great, but the bit that really sells this film for me, just brings it together in a nice little package, is the character drama. You have De Niro and Pacino, men who are sort of, you know, on opposite sides of the law. De Niro's the skilled thief, Pacino's the veteran, grizzled cop. They're both the best at what they do, so it's kind of like this story where what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. You get the showdowns that you get in Heat, and it's just insane to watch. I mean, seriously, this movie, in terms of actors, in terms of my favorite actors, it put Pacino and De Niro right up there purely just because of that diner scene alone. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But god damn it, man, I do think this is probably the best work that either of them have done, at least in my opinion. And, you know, of course, Pacino, one of the best things about him in this film, he just chews up the scenery in this film. I mean, Jesus, what are you, a fucking owl? Because she's got a great ass! Stuff like that. And then you have De Niro on the other side of it, where he's very calm, collected, smooth. It's this great contrast between these two characters. I mean, Jesus, there's these rumors, and I'm pretty sure Pacino's even admitted this himself, or not admitted, but like, you know, heavily suggested that, you know, Hannah, I'm pretty sure his character's name is in this film, apparently in his mind he chips cocaine. You don't see it in the film, but that explains his high energy, high acting. And Pacino's basically suggested that he was also doing cocaine when he was making this film. So it's kind of, you know, a dedication to a character that, I mean, look, I'm not saying that a lot of actors don't do cocaine in their own time, but to do it in a film and work it into your character is, well, it's something else. But yeah, then you have the other side of this film as well, adding to that character drama, the relationship De Niro has with the woman in the film and Val Kilmer's relationship with his wife. It's just little bits of character drama that just add nice little toppings to this action film. I've always believed that, you know, it's not, well, I'm not saying it's easy to make a good action film, but, you know, I think what separates a good action film from a great action film is that there's more to the film behind the gunfights and the explosions, and Heat definitely delivers that. The characters are well written, they're thoughtful. De Niro has this really compelling character arc behind him where you think the whole film, he has this rule where, you know, don't let yourself get attached to anything if you're not willing to drop it under, I think, 30 seconds when the Heat walks around, when you spot the Heat around the corner. I totally butchered that line, but you know what I'm talking about. Don't get attached to things, stay distant. He starts to get attached to this woman and you think, oh, he's gonna break his rule for this woman, he's gonna break it. That's his arc in this film. He discovers that, you know, he wants to fall in love, he wants to be with someone, he doesn't want to be alone. And then you get to that point in the film where he has to make that decision and he does drop this girl and walk away from her. And it's interesting because on one hand, it's like, well, that's not a very interesting character arc. But then you think about it and it's like, oh, here's a man that is just so convicted that he stands by his morals. And, you know, it's interesting. It's character development when it's not. It just showcases what this man really is and the growth he shows by still sticking to that rule, even though he comes very close to breaking it. And I mean, look, these videos always are a bit of a ramble. I'm guilty of that. But I mean, just to top things off, cinematography in this film, brilliant. This is one of the last films that man did before I think he just got obsessed with digital cameras. He was one of the first guys to really adopt those early digital cameras. And you go back and look at films like Collateral and especially Miami Vice, super grainy. He's trying to use it at night and it just doesn't look good compared to something like Heat, where every shot in this film is a painting. And especially this 4K, I've heard a lot of people complain that it's too dark. I can understand that, but I also don't find that. I think Heat has always used, well, it uses very cool colors in the film. There's a lot of blue, blacks, grays. There's a lot of nighttime scenes, you know, grays of the streets and the blacks of the road. It's a very dull color palette that man uses really well in the film. So I think, you know, having a darker 4K, it makes sense. But, you know, in terms of the grain and the presentation and the sound, it's flawless. I love this release. I upgraded from Blu-ray a few years ago and I was blown away by it. I love it. But yeah, I guess just to put a little bow on this, Heat, right now, I would consider it my favorite film of all time. I think it's a flawless action film with superb filmmaking and production that is backed up by brilliant performances and has a depth to it that you rarely find in crime and action films. And, you know, I haven't read the book, Heat 2, that Mann wrote for this film and is apparently adapting into a new film right now. Judging by what he's done since Heat, I'm skeptical whether or not he can actually make a film that matches this. But I guarantee you that when we hear any news about that film, I'll be on it straight away and I'm gonna be there day one in the cinema to watch it. But yeah, that's my quick thoughts on Heat. I want to hear from you guys. Have you seen this one? Do you love it as much as I do? Let me know in the comments below. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and as always, I will see you all in the next video.